Welcome to the Profit Share Mastery Podcast with your hosts, Linda and Pres McKissack.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Profit Share Mastery Podcast. I'm Linda McKissack.
And I'm Pres McKissack.
And we are in the beautiful state of Montana while the rest of the country is like baking at 109, 115. So sorry, y'all, if you're in one of those spots. But anyway, we just want to say, hope you stay cool. And we want to talk to you a little bit about today, something that we're kind of really excited about, that we love. We kind of, since we ever heard this, Pres, I think we kind of use it more than any
It's one of the best
thinking tool we've ever used.
Yeah, it's one of the best frameworks, I think, in the last few years that we teach people in our region and in our sphere. And we're talking about it, and we're like, you know what? We've never done this on our Profit Share Mastery podcast, and I think it's time.
Absolutely. So why don't you kick us off and talk? We
Sure.
call it the 4 C's.
Yep. So this is called the 4 C's, and we got to give credit where credit is due. This is a model from a guy by the name of Dan Sullivan. And Dan has been coaching entrepreneurs for what, Linda, 40 years?
Yeah, over 40 years. His program is called Strategic Coach. What's funny, Pres, is books you read and people you run into that are very successful entrepreneurs, 9 times out of 10, they've been through Dan's program.
Yeah. And so his program is called Strategic Coach. And Linda's been doing that program for a number of years.
And we'll put a link in the show notes for everybody who wants to check out that program, because he just does a really good job of changing the way you think. And honestly, Pres, everything in life that we do starts with how we think.
That's right.
Or stops with how we think.
Well, and especially wealth building, profit share. It really is you got to believe it. It starts with how you think before it translates into what you do.
Yeah.
So this tool is something Linda brought back to me probably 4 or 5 years ago now. And it's called the 4 C's. And I'm going to kind of jump forward a little bit and then we'll come back. The reason why this in particular, this framework is so critical, Linda and I were talking about this, it's because the first step in it is commitment. And when you are going to go after wealth or profit share, anything that's not instant gratification, that takes time to build, takes time to focus on, it requires a really big commitment.
Right.
So, Linda, you want to walk them through what the 4 C's are, and let's kind of give them first the framework, and then we'll kind of talk about how that relates to profit share.
Sure. So the first C is make a big commitment. And I know sometimes people think they're making big commitments, but the way you know whether you made a big commitment or not is the minute you make a big commitment, you drop into this horrific place called courage. And the difference between courage and fear is where you just wet your pants because of the commitment you told someone you'd make. And courage is where you go ahead and complete that commitment even with the wet pants. And so we call it our depends moment, right? And I think I've had people come up to me before and ask, how do I know if I'm making a big commitment? Well, that's exactly how you'll know. I mean, honestly, courage is not a comfortable place. Now, confidence is, and we'll get to that in a minute, but courage is very uncomfortable, and most people don't like to go to a place that's that uncomfortable. And the reason it's uncomfortable is the 3rd C, which is called credentials. And to make a big commitment, you kind of have to you can't have all the credentials. If you had all the credentials, it wouldn't take any courage. And so a lot of times the biggest commitments that we can make to make our lives big is they're ones that we don't really know how to do it all. We don't have all the credentials we need. And so once you figure out the credentials, because you want to get out of this horrible place called courage, you will figure out the credentials. Then all of a sudden we go to the 4th C, which is this amazing, comfortable, cushiony, kind of under your down comforter kind of place called confidence. And you and I have kind of tagged and said there's actually a 5th C that we all have to be careful of the more and more successful we get and that's called complacency. And so because confidence feels so good, if you're not careful, you won't go out and look for that next big commitment that you need to make. You'll actually stay in confidence, which is warm and fuzzy and doesn't take a lot of courage.
The challenge, though, is, Linda, if you want to have a big life, that confidence, that new confidence that you've just gained should be the springboard to launch you into the next big commitment. But like you said, most people, they get to either a certain lifestyle or a certain amount of money, or they get a certain, you get kids, you get, a family, you get all these things, and it becomes scarier and scarier to take, risk or to take that next big commitment. And so they fall back into that complacency.
Yeah. Or you're making really good money in your sales business. So it's comfortable over here making sales. And so why would I want to get uncomfortable and go build my profit share or my wealth?
Really good. That's really good. And so let's kind of break it down. So again, I just want to make sure everyone understands you've got commitment is number 1.
Big
commitment.
Big commitment.
The second place is courage.
Yep.
The third step is credentials or capabilities, would
Yep.
be another way to say that. The things you don't yet have that you gain on the journey. And then that leads you to confidence.
Right.
And then that fifth C was complacency. And that's the one you want to stay clear of.
Yep. Yep. And the way your life gets big is to constantly be going back through that as a circle over as many times as you possibly can.
Well, and one of the things we do this we do a leadership academy inside of our region. And we do 2 exercises with those who are going through our program with us. And the first exercise is to have them look back in their life and have them identify, okay, let's walk through these 4 different places. Where do you remember taking a really big commitment? What was the courage it required? What were the capabilities you needed to gain? And then what was the new confidence that gave you? And we have them walk through that looking backwards in their life. And what's fun is, especially in the real estate industry, one of the easiest places to find that is when you got your license. For most people, that was a huge commitment. You're
100% commission.
Right, you're going from a stable salaried job usually into something that's 100% commission. It's risky, but then you look at people walk through that in their life and you see the new confidence that they gained and what that allowed them to do, more money, more freedom of their time and relationships. And then the other exercise we do is we have them look forward. And this is my favorite one. What big commitment do you know you need to make? What's the courage you know it's going to take? What's the capabilities you're going to need to gain? And then what's that new confidence going to feel like? And I know for a lot of us, if we stop, and I'd encourage those who are listening, pause the episode and think for a few minutes, whether you're in your car or you're just listening at home, but think for a few minutes on what's the next big commitment I know I need to make. And for some of you, it may be passive income and building wealth. And so one of the things Linda and I would challenge you to do is really think about it. Have you made that big commitment around profit share? Because if you haven't, you're probably not focusing on building wealth and building passive income like you probably want. And this is hard because it requires, delayed gratification, things like that.
Yeah, and it also, it kind of challenges your mindset on, what do you believe about profit share? Do you believe you're doing something to someone or for someone? And so those are all the obstacles that come up that stop people along the way, or, that you're going to have to, if you make a big commitment, you're going to have to stick with it, even though, again, you don't have all the credentials or the capabilities that you need. You just have to be willing to stay committed till you do get them.
Yeah. So, Linda, how have you... Because what's cool is I've watched you. This isn't just a great tool for ourselves, but I've actually watched you use this tool in conversations with people who are not with Keller Williams yet. Will you take a second? Let's flip the switch for a second.
Yeah.
Because this is a tool. What Linda and I would encourage you to do is not just do this tool for yourself, but really learn it in a way. And Dan has a great little book on it that you can read. And we'd encourage you to get that book called The 4 C's. And read it and better understand this framework, because once you know it, then you can start teaching it and using it. And it has been one of the best tools that Linda and I have used in conversations with people who aren't with our company yet. So will you talk a little bit about how you've used
Well, a lot of times
framework?
when somebody's thinking about making a move in a brokerage, that's a big commitment. They've got listings, they've got money invested, they've got commissions on the line. I mean, it's a big commitment.
Their reputation.
They have this belief that, what if some of their customers doesn't follow them? I mean, it takes a lot of courage, to be honest with you. It's a big commitment for a lot of people. So if you can help them understand that this is a normal process that you're going to go through in life to make a big life, then all of a sudden what they think is unique to them actually becomes a, what do you call it, like a formula or framework that you now use, and you actually, instead of it holding you back, you actually use it to go build a big life.
Yeah. Well, and, I've watched you do this time and time again, and I think one of the most powerful ways to teach people the 4 C's is, number one, you got to understand the 4, or in our case, the 5 C's that there are, and be able to walk someone through that. But then the other thing is sharing your own personal journey. I've watched you do that 100 times, Linda, where you talk about your big commitment when you stepped away from
sales.
Well, no, not even that. Before that, when you moved to Keller Williams.
Oh, yeah.
And you walked away from how many listings?
Well, we had 52 listings, and our document said that they own the listings. And, for whatever reason, I didn't understand that. I probably didn't read the fine print. And it's because I just believed that if I was the one that went out and got that business, and those people committed to me and they trusted me and they believed in me, that the responsibility always would stay with me. And when I read that document, I'm like, 52 listings, that's a lot to walk away from.
Yeah.
So,
well, that story is so powerful because I've yet to be in a recruiting appointment, talking to someone where they have a bigger risk than what you took at the time.
Yeah.
And so whether you use your own story or you use Linda's story, like that could be a powerful way to help them see, if you're talking to someone who's at another company and they're not with our company yet, how making a move can actually be that big commitment that helps them get that confidence to move to the next level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, because until they actually see it as something that is a normal process that they have to go through to get a big life, they will let it be the thing that holds them back.
Yeah. Now, I want to switch gears again. Let's talk about this as it relates to profit share. Mm-hmm. Because at one point, you were the person in Keller Williams who said, don't talk to me about profit share. I'm focused on my real estate business. But then something happened that changed and you decided to make a really big commitment. Mm-hmm. Kind of talk through that and why you decided to do that. What led you to your big commitment around profit share?
Well, unfortunately, it's kind of like most people. Sometimes is something bad has to happen. Sometimes. I'd like to say, I just woke up and I realized, gosh, what a huge opportunity this is. But I actually had a really bad day. We had a agent walk in, throw a fit in the office over her buyer not getting a house that we had listed. I had a lawsuit presented to me while Jimmy was fishing in Canada with no cell service. That was about a mortgage partnership that we had. It just was one of those days, and I always say if you haven't had one yet in real estate, it's coming, where you honestly take a real hard look and say, God, is there anything else? Is there anything else? And I remember pulling out my resume that day and go, I remember why I sell real estate. I sell real estate because based on this resume, I make about $2.75 an hour. And so I said, I'm going to have to keep doing real estate, but I'm going to also work harder on building my wealth. Now, we'd already been buying investment properties, so part of the reason I didn't even think about profit shares because I already had investment properties. So I'm like, why do I need that? But my philosophy is you can't have too many streams of income. You just never know what's going to happen in life. We call it life's unexpecteds. You just don't know what experiences you want to be able to provide for you and your family and what charities you're going to want to contribute to and be a part of. So I decided that I would figure out what profit share really was and how to do it because I knew based on that day, I was not always going to love selling houses like I had in the past.
And what do you feel like going after profit share? Talk about the other side of the 4 C's, the confidence and the springboard that gave you.
Yeah, well, the main confidence it gave me is when I woke up and realized I'm actually changing people's lives. I realized that of my thousands and thousands of sellers and buyers, not a single one had ever looked at me and said, Linda, you changed my life. Not one. They said, thank you, best real estate deal. We love the McKissack Group. We tell everybody to use you guys. But they never had tears in their eyes and said, thank you, you changed my life. However, I realized that by helping people self-discover, not selling them and telling them, but helping them self-discover about Keller Williams, that they would eventually come to me and say, you changed my life with tears in their eyes, and you've changed my family's lives for generations. So the confidence that gave me was, oh my God, I have got to, even if I even remotely think I'm doing something to someone, because number one, none of us, again, we've said this past in the podcast, but none of us are good enough to make a buyer buy, seller sell, or an agent join. So when we get off of that, we realize that there's a process that we teach that to get people to self-discover if it's right for them. And the confidence was, I now believe I'm doing something with a lot more significance than I had when I was listing and selling houses, for me anyway.
Yeah, that's great. Well, so for those of you who are listening, what we would challenge you to do is look at your own life. Look back. Walk through the 4 C's in your own life and realize where you've made big commitments and how that served you and where that's been the springboard to lead you to more success and bigger opportunities. And then look forward. Look at what's that next big commitment you need to make. For some of you, you may already be on your profit share journey, so maybe it's just a recommitment of what you need to go do. And for others, this is the first time you've really seen profit share through the lens of, wow, you're right, I really need to start with a big commitment. then this may be your moment. So if you're looking for a sign, as they say, this is it.
Yeah.
It may be your big commitment moment where you decide you're going to go all in on profit share. And one of the things Linda and I just came out with, we're really excited about, is what we're calling a profit share challenge. And we want to help people, and this is totally free. Anyone can join in Keller Williams or anyone who's associated with our company. If you go to profitsharemastery.com, on the front page, you will see Join the Challenge. And what we talked about is, Mo always says in our company, the first thing you should focus on doing around profit share is going from no people in your downline to 15 as fast as possible. And so our whole challenge is built around how you go from, either 0 or just a few people in your profit share to 15 plus within a 12-month period. So if you're ready to make a big commitment around profit share and you want to go all in, go to profitsharemastery.com and you can go join our challenge. Again, it's completely free. And, Linda and I are on a mission. Linda talks about changing lives, and that is what we wake up every day around profit share and want to help you do, because it's changed our family's life. It's been a legacy for our family, and it should be a gift for everyone in this company.
Absolutely. And, we can only affect so many lives, but if we can help other people go change lives, now we're talking about lots and lots and lots of people that get the opportunity to have their lives changed with this amazing company and with this amazing gift called Profit Share.
Yeah, that's right. All right, Linda. Well, thank you. Great episode today.
Yep, and be watching for the date for our next annual Profit Share Summit that's coming up. We have some amazing guest speakers lined up, and we'll be getting you more information on that and the date and times. So know that that's coming. And if you have not, be sure and hit subscribe, and go ahead, if you would, think of 4, 5, 10 KW people that you know that don't really, and definitely the people in your downline, make sure they're listening to this podcast, because you only need one person in your downline to get on fire about profit share. But for sure, pass it along to any Keller Williams agents that you know that may not be listening to the podcast, because the more people we have listen to this, the more people are going to go out and change lives, and the bigger profit share pool is going to be for all of us.
That's right. All right, Linda, great job. See ya.
See you next time.